Hi, I'm Sean from Wings for Life. This is Wings Week in Review. We'll be with you right after this. All right, welcome back. It's another Friday here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we are live in our Wings for Life International offices. I have a couple of guests today. I have Stanley Weinstein. He's with Best Chance out of New Mexico. Help for inmates when they get out of prison. Lots of services and things he does to help people. First, our program director here, Ken, for Wings for Life. He's going to give you a little quick update on what happened this week and what's coming up.
Okay, not a problem. Not too much to update. We are still functioning fully. We had a lot of people donating a lot of awesome items. So come this next season during the summer time frame, we will have a lot to give away. And we want to make sure that everyone knows about our Monday Zoom event, the 28th. We're going to be discussing Learn from Employers. So it's my understanding we'll have some employers. It'll be a discussion panel. So please make sure that you're joining us on our Wings for Life Zoom call. That's Monday at 6 p.m. Please invite. Other than that, we have the interns have been helping out quite a bit, as they usually do, with grant writing and things of that nature. So we're still working to get as much funding as we possibly can, so we can actually do things like this and provide the service that we love providing to the public and those people in need. So, Sean, that is about it for right now. And please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are looking to bring up our viewers because it's something that we want to get out to the public. Go to our website, go to our YouTube channel and watch the videos, educate yourself, learn about Wings for Life International, and please spread the word about who we are and what we do.
Thank you, Ken.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cool. Next, I got JD. He's working with me on our Wings Works project, and that's a project that we're putting together to hire people coming right out of prison. Eventually, we're going to hire other people too, but right now we're focusing on changing somebody's life when they get out of prison and giving them a career and a job and some employment right from the gate. Here's JD. He's a returning citizen as well.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm a returning citizen with Sean, and just happy to be here at Wings, and been working hard on the Wings Works project, so it's still in its very early stages right now, but we're putting together some training materials, putting together some just basic paperwork, things we're going to need moving forward, and learning the business from Halls of Design, which is going to be our initial little project that we're going to start people working on. And so learning how to make the ceramics, everything like that. And eventually we're going to expand. We've been talking about maybe doing some silk screening.
Yeah, we want to help you start your own business, and we're going to help you with everything from filing a business name to all the paperwork to helping you market your products, all that kind of stuff.
So I know in my time while I was incarcerated, I met a lot of people that had a lot of great skills, a lot of great artistry. Some of the best artists I've ever met have been when I was in prison. And so I know that coming out, you may not be familiar with how to start a business or anything like that. Well, we're going to help you with that. Get the ball rolling, get everything started for you. So we're really excited about it, and we hope to change some lives. I know it's changing my life as we speak. So
there you go. Thank you, JD.
Yes, sir.
How cool is that? We got one thing done. Before I came over, someone said, get an update on the ceramics business. We want to be part of that and help you with it. And,
Okay.
So now I got
all right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I know JD. Stanley here has helped JD. So I'm tying it in my transition.
Yeah.
So this is Stanley, guys. So he's from Best Chance. And I guess that means that's the best chance somebody has when they get out of prison is to go see you guys, right?
That's what I said, and we said, but I didn't make up that name. I was at level 2 at Central New Mexico one day, and one of the guys said, for God's sake, don't call it an opportunity center. Don't give it this kind of name. Don't give it that kind of name. We just want the best chance to succeed. I said, oh, we'll call it Best Chance. And that's where the name came from. So we help people when they're first released from prison. As soon as they have that first sense of freedom, they don't experience freedom per se. Most people experience feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah,
and that's what I
noticed.
Most of all,
sure.
it's most people don't understand being released from prison is much more stressful than being incarcerated. And of course, it's a different world, a different culture. And you just need a little bit of help those first 6, 9 weeks or 3 months. If you can get that right, you lower recidivism. The transition to a productive life becomes a lot easier.
Me and JD were just talking today about when guys get out of prison and they meet. If you're nice to them, they don't know how to react, right?
Yep.
You know, like guys come in the door here all the time. Probation sends them over to do community service and stuff, and we walk up, shake their hand, and we're nice to them, and they just and it's a true nice. You know, we're not trying to. I'm not trying to. You know, it's not like in prison. If somebody's nice in prison, you know.
Well, I saw something. It was very moving yesterday. We just opened a new house. We purchased a 4-plex, so we can put our feet in the water of trying something new. And without stable housing, there's not a lot of help for people. So we've been making referrals, been pretty good at that. But we wanted to be directly in the business of having service enhanced housing. So this person just entered our house. We got him settled in and everything. He came to Best Chance the next morning to do an intake. And Rory Wolf, one of our peer support workers, was talking to him and telling him how we help, and they'll stay in touch. But if you want to do things on your own, you can do things on your own. But it was interesting because halfway through the intake process, this 55-year-old man just stood up. He had to cry. He was just overwhelmed by that someone would care enough and would say, we'll just call you to find out how you're doing. And I thought, this guy's been around the block. He did some bodybuilding with Arnold Schwarzenegger in California and all sorts of interesting things. But I think it's just overwhelming. And as you said right here at Wings, people are just surprised at how nicely they're treated. And that's all you need to get a good start.
Got some comments to answer, but I wanted to also throw in on that. In prison, when I was in prison, we hear about organizations. You get a newsletter here, you get an email there. You hear about these places that help you when you get out, but you hear about them, but you don't really think they're true, and you don't really think that they're going to care about you. But I mean, and I know that's not true. I know Stanley cares about you. I know I care about you. I know people here in this office care about you. But I had some experiences when I first got out in Oakland. I went to a place that did not write me back, and I went to their office to ask them why they didn't write me back. And,
I hear you.
You know, and they still didn't care. And they
You wonder.
pretty much pointed me down the street, and you know, and this, you know, so. But here we care. Here we care. There are real places that care.
And forgive me if I don't look directly at you. I know there are people out there listening, and it's like you want to
let's
go
see,
out there and hug them for caring about.
Let me say hi to these. I got a few people in the audience. I got Alan Scott. He says waving hi from Cincinnati. Say hi, Cincinnati.
Hi, Cincinnati.
All right.
And stop putting cinnamon in your spaghetti and chili.
Got Katrina Strub. She says hello, Katrina.
Hey, I bow to you, Katrina.
Trina had some good news today about her son who's in prison, but I won't share her story, but I know she got some good news today. And then I got Evanstein. Hey, Sean, I'm taking a deal for 2 years in the feds. How does that break down as far as my time in with good time? Any advice on getting into RDAP, being that there's a bit of a time crunch? So that's a federal prison question, guys, but you took a deal for 2 years. So with 2 years, the RDAP will give you 6 months off for the 2 years. It takes 9 months to do the RDAP. You'll get 4 months off with your good time. That's the 85%. So let's just start with your good time. You'll go from 2 years to 16 months. RDAP will give you 6 months off your sentence. So what's the math? Also, they'll give you 6 months halfway house time. 2 years is a real tight window. You need 9 months to do the RDAP. But I know on a 2-year sentence, you could be out of there in 10 months. But you need to, the day you get in there, they need to start the RDAP that day. So you need to hopefully let you self-surrender, and you can find a prison and you find out when the RDAP starts. Every 3 months, they do a new session. So if it starts in March, you want to leave 2 weeks early to get there just in time to start the RDAP. You got to time it just right. If you don't time it just right, what will happen is you'll still get the 6 months off your sentence, but maybe you'll only do 4 months halfway house time. Maybe you only get 5 months off your sentence because you still got to do the RDAP. but you'll get them. They'll work with you to give you the most. But if you time it just right, and that's something maybe you want to call me about later. It's a little complicated on a 2-year sentence, but you can be out of there in 10 months, and it's done all the time. It's all about timing. Hope that helps.
I'll just say another thing about RDAP. 2010, I got a letter from somebody who wrote to the Albuquerque Zen Center and said, would someone come and teach meditation at Central New Mexico? And I went, and very soon they introduced me to people running the RDAP. So for 10 years, I went twice a week as a volunteer to teach coping skills and meditation. And that's how I got involved. And then as some of my friends were released, I'd be driving them around to get EBT cards and all those types of things. My wife at the time said I was a one-person social service agency, but after a while we met some people with strong recoveries, and I thought, now if we could hook together, we can have a peer-led nonprofit doing these types of things.
Yeah.
But the RDAP program in itself worked the program, and when you're released, the urges and all those other types of things about your alcohol and drug use, those things become a lot easier when you actually work the program, in addition to getting your lump sum.
Yeah, you're not really supposed to take it for the time off. You're supposed to take it because you want to change your life. But we know.
It's
It's
like AA too. You show up for one reason or another to satisfy a PO or something.
Yeah.
But for some people, it turns out, oh, I heard something interesting. It's not too shabby.
When I first started going to AA meetings, I asked one guy, "How long do you got to keep going to these meetings?" He says, "Until you like them."
I love that answer. That's right.
Who we got here in the room next? Mariah Gonzalez. She says, "Hello there." Hello, Mariah. And then
Mariah.
this guy's spam or something. Yeah. Somebody's watching
Is he
us.
selling something?
I can't even read it. Trina says, timing is important for RDAP. Yes, it is. That's, I don't know what that means. That's we got some spam. It's going to happen. Weinstein, Evanstein. No. Thanks, man. You rock. I know she means Weinstein. Shihara. This is cool. And welcome, Shihara. Okay. No, all right. Got any more questions, comments? I always stop to read your questions and comments, and hopefully I never miss any of these. Back to Stanley, I wanted to ask.
Sure.
I know you helped out JD when I first heard about Best Chance. You helped him get his driver's license, right? You guys helped him with ID, and you gave him a backpack. Which we
do that. We start with material support because you want to treat someone with dignity, and if you leave prison. You ever see those photos? Someone that are leaving with flip-flops, sweatpants, and a box. Now, these are people who used to own a bunch of stuff, good stuff. Now they don't have stuff. They lose it in the transfer from the county jail to there. Who knows what happens with the stuff? But at any rate, we just start that off. And if nothing else, Sean, you can't help someone if you don't build rapport first. So that's always a first step. And you can't get a job. There's so much you can't do without an ID. So we pay for it. We send off for birth certificates in many states.
Oh, you help them with that too?
Oh my God, yes. We had something from Cuba. It took a while, but we figured it out. But I have a sense that, I don't know what everyone does, but Best Chance, I have a sense that we're the strongest at just getting people their IDs as quickly as possible. We work the system. And our peer support workers cook food and bring it to the people at MVD.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of guys get out.
Subtle approaches.
I know a lot of guys get out and you go to the halfway house. The halfway houses really don't. When I went to mine, you were on your own. They didn't even have, maybe, I think they had a toothbrush and toothpaste, but no shampoo, no shower shoes, no clothes. No, nothing. No employment help.
If you like Irish Spring, you'll come to our place. But we keep good supplies of the socks and all those things. But we do so much more. We even screen for brain injuries. We do the peer support's the heart of what we do. But we help everyone make a plan. I heard someone on the phone today was down for 27 years. And he said, well, I'm going to open a bank account and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do. And it was like, all those are great.
Yeah.
But knowing the order in which it'll go smoother, it'll just reduce the stress. And more than anything, we're in the stress reduction business. Would you say that's a fair assessment, Joe?
It is. And I was just going to tell a quick story about getting my driver's license. My peer support worker at Best Chance is Benjamin.
Okay. Benjamin
and so,
Raymond, cool
you know,
guy.
he told me, meet me at the MVD, you know, I'm gonna set up an appointment for you. He set up everything for me. All I had to do was
set the appointment.
All I had to do was show up. But it was real cool because I got there a little early. So I walked in and man, I said, there's a lot of people here, man. I don't know if I'm gonna make it back on time for my pass at the halfway house.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm waiting and Benjamin walks in and whole MVD staff. Oh hey Benjamin, hi.
Yeah.
And then what number are you? So I give him my little ticket. He's like, oh yeah, we're A, you know, whatever. Okay. About 2 minutes later, call the number and we go up, man. So
yeah, we do that well, and it just makes the life easier. On the other hand, we try to be careful and just say sometimes you're still dealing with people with paperwork, so we're in the frustration lowering business. In fact, one of the things I discovered visiting folks in the system is, don't ever say someone needs anger management. What they need is frustration reduction. When you say anger management, it's putting a burden on them, but most people just don't feel understood or listened to. And if you could approach it differently, it just seems to make a big difference. So we do those types of things. We have support groups and with meals too. It's kind of friendlier. People in a lot of support groups that are run by the professionals, it becomes stylized or, you know, and how did that make you feel, Sean? You know, that I was once talking to I'll say shrink, but a professional, but she said, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. And I said, I'll fine you $5 if you say that again. You know, it's at some point, we just want it to be genuine. It's like being with you. Have this sense, if you serve a meal, it'll be the family you probably didn't have when you're a kid, when things were more chaotic than they needed to be.
Yeah.
And from time to time, I apologize. I said, my generation, we let the world show you pictures of eggs in frying pans. We did all sorts of stuff that there was no proof that meant anything to anybody. It didn't seem to work. We should have been saying, could you create a stable house for your kids? There are a lot of other things we could have said.
Could, should have, would have, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I just say, if I knew what I know now, I would have devoted myself to some other things younger. You know, my generation let a lot of people down, I think.
Well, it's okay. We forgive you, don't.
That's kind of you. That's kind of you. I'll say one other thing we're involved with, not so much. We do direct services more than anything, but a lot of people are worried about the justice system and they think about in terms of advocacy, what they do. But I'll tell you, if you're off paper, if you've completed your sentence and a state
can you tell people what off paper means? Some people don't know what that means.
I have been off paper. You finished your term. You served out your full term. You're not on you're not
parole
or
probation, supervised.
No supervision at all. You're through. And some people find it easier. They say, I don't think I could deal with parole officers and all that. I'll just finish my term in prison. You know what the state does? They might release you. In fact, they will release you to homelessness sometimes. That you don't get the services. So that's one area. We also would like to see improvements in the getting ID, all that. On the other hand, there are people we work with directly, people like Morgan Jaco, who's in charge in our state of pre-release services and recidivism reduction, and Haven Scoggin. So there are people we work directly with to hope long-term to coordinate the pre-release programs with the services in the community. That's a long-term dream. And
do you help somebody coming out of jails too?
We don't.
You don't.
And we wish we had the resources to do that too. The numbers are too great.
Okay.
And some of the serious mental health issues,
Okay.
and it's a revolving door.
Right.
So the whole system has to be better equipped to provide mental health services. By the way, I should mention another shout out to Trish Singh of ANA of A New Awakening Behavioral Health. But we're a clinically supervised organization, so we're peer led, but we meet regularly with a clinical supervisor who answers some of the tough questions,
Okay.
knowing that the peer support workers are not therapists. But,
True. Now, peer support workers, is that like a returning citizen usually?
oh yes.
Okay.
So Joe mentioned,
And like Rory, there's a guy named Rory. that works in there.
Rory Wolf was a Marine, but he was incarcerated at least 5 times. He was one of those folks, you might have heard the expression, I did life on the installment
plan. Yeah.
He did that. But he's been clean and sober now for 8 years and knows the system. And he's the one who actually cooks more for the people in the MVD. They all have these nice relationships. Benjamin did 16 years federal time. We do federal folks. We
So
help.
you do Fed and state. then.
We do federal.
Okay.
We help federal people. We help state people. Jails. I wish we could do that. I think would take another mindset to figure out
Well, that's
how
all.
you could help. And there's some things that the county does.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there are some things that I have ideas about how they might make it better. But you get more things done in life if you focus. And I figure you've just been released. We'll focus on what do you need. And that we just say, we're not going to be a big advocacy for all the issues that people have. But I just say, how can we reduce recidivism? And I think the answer to that one is not so much putting it negatively. How can you stop from going? How can you make life on the outside in the community so rewarding that everyone who came to you feels really good about it? It feels good. I see Joe shaking his head. Yeah. It's like when you're doing something and you know you're helping other people and things are falling into place, and you found an affordable apartment here.
I did. And I had to move out of San Francisco, but that was fine. Not a problem.
That's not a difficult
No.
decision. Yeah, I say.
I do got some comments I want to read here. And
Please.
Then I
go
want to
for it.
ask you about maybe what you do for helping people with jobs and stuff. Nicholas Connor, I don't know if you know, but he says, hello, glad to be here. Then he says, Best Chance is an amazing nonprofit that helps on so many levels.
That's Nick.
Okay, you know him.
I think it's
All
Nick.
right.
Is it,
Nicholas Connor. Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
Nick.
His last name. Was he a transition?
Well, he put the
for a
last
living?
name.
Okay,
Yeah.
he can say, "Are you Nick from Transitions?"
And Katrina says, sounds like Best Chance program is awesome too. It is awesome. I've always heard good things. Ambrosia, she says, hi, Ambrosia from Community Peer Education Project here. Best Chance is one of our best resources given out to our referrals for community help for returning citizens.
Well, that's
Oh.
very, very kind.
She's
I
from
think-
Community Peer Education Project.
Very good.
Do you know them?
I
You do now.
I do now, and forgive me if it doesn't come from. It's 78. You have to forgive me a little bit.
I'm interested in your Community Peer Education Project, Ambrosia. Maybe you could
Right.
give us some more information on that, or contact us on the email. If you want to email me or Wings for Life or anybody from Wings for Life, underneath any of our videos, under description, just keep scrolling down and everything's there, websites, emails, phone numbers, or scrolling across your screen right now is the websites and phone numbers for Wings for Life and for Best Chance.
I'll say
And-
one thing about education. All of our peer support workers at Best Chance are certified by OPRI, which is the State Office of Peer Education and Recovery.
Oh, certified.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're certified peer educators and peer support workers. We work with the people there very closely also.
Mariah, she says, sounds like a great program and so true. It is frustrating as an average task, but having the support will definitely be a frustration reduction. she caught your words there. Frustration reduction.
That's what I think. That's the heart of our business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nick is saying yes. That's
That's that. Nick.
he says it is me. It is me.
Okay, I bow to you, Nick. He's helped so many people. He once helped run the transitions for a living, so he would take people in the halfway house and bring them to our program, and he was proactive in making good things happen for
All right.
people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ambrosia, she says Project Echo. Okay.
Right.
That's a shorter way to say it.
Oh my gosh.
Then you do know who it is.
Of course I do. Forgive me.
She says Stanley knows Daniel Rowan's program. Okay.
Well, I do. In fact, Daniel Rowan was our first program director. He's a person I met who was incarcerated at the time, but I noticed that first of all, he's taller than everyone else, so he has that leadership quality. And because the orange suits didn't fit that everyone else had, his was fresh and clean. It was kind of cool. But beyond that, I noticed people would come to him and ask advice. And I just watched and I thought, you know what? People don't want to hear Stuffy Stanley talk about these things. They want someone who's been through some serious long-term addictions, some serious problems. I had my own issues, and in the 60s, I went to seek help for the things I was doing that were making my brain sort of foggy. But Daniel very quickly put together the heart of our program. He was a co-founder of Best Chance, and pretty soon he became the face of peer education in our state.
Okay.
He is now spoken about the value of peer support in Finland, Canada, and multiple states across the country. And Project Echo, of course, I didn't know that. I forgot that. And one of our first board members, Saul Hernandez, was also involved with Ambrosia and those. It comes back. I just had
So all
one
right,
of my
very
senior
good.
moments.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, of course.
So I wanted to talk about jobs, and then I wanted to talk about housing. But
Sure.
I know when somebody gets out of prison, if I know in my experience, I just wanted a good job, I want a place to live, and I want a chance.
Right. So we have
Finding a job. So
finding a job. Okay. We make referrals also. So we do work with Workforce Connections and Workforce Solutions, and help people that way. But at our support groups, we go around the table. How you doing? How you doing? And someone says, I got this great job. And then some, where are you working? And right now, by the way, it's not a big issue.
right,
What we tell people, take a deep breath, because this is marvelous. So you're going to hear about a job opening. You'll show up. They'll put a mirror under your nose. And if they see signs of life,
yeah.
the next sentence is, can you start tomorrow? There's one fellow said, I wanted to work at, he said it to me, conversationally. I always wanted, I like that Cafe Cinnamon or Cinnamon Cafe. I said, why don't you show up there and tell them you always wanted to work there? And
Sure enough. Yeah.
Sure enough, he showed up. He said, he volunteered that he did that time and just out, but I always wanted to work here. And the next thing that happened wasn't like, well, we have an application online. It wasn't any of that. It was like, it was literally, can you start tomorrow?
It actually is a good time to be coming out of prison and finding a job. I see help wanted signs everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. If you've worked hospitality industry, construction, some of those things, there are lots of entry level jobs. So a lot of people leave incarceration, and most have a GED and doing rather well.
Yeah.
They're brighter than most people will ever admit. It's a tragedy. It's a lot of lost talent. But the biggest way people find jobs, and we also have a core curriculum, but we start with, how do you find jobs? We've known people who've walked to businesses close to the halfway houses, say, what do you do? Are you looking for anyone? I can do X, Y, and Z. And we in our core curriculum, we train them. When you're asked, what are your strengths? You know what to say. It was funny. During our intake, some things blew my mind, but one of the intake questions when you're talking about employment is, what are your strengths? And you know what the number one answer is? Can you take Take a wildest guess.
That's the hardest one at a job. Can you give me three of your strengths or three positive things about you, and then three.
What was it? Yeah.
My strength. Well, right now, I just did a whole bunch of years in federal prison. If I went through that, I can get you anything. I'm the guy you want to hire.
Well, that's a great answer. But our number one answer when we asked them that question in the intake was, "What do you mean by that?" They haven't thought of the question before they show up.
Right.
So we give them, here's 27,000 different things you could say. By the way, I've worked with electricians. I've hauled all the conduit you can imagine. I've worked this. I could work outside, and it could be hot or cold, and I'll still be strong at the end of the day. One guy, I said, he visited us so many times, and then one day he just volunteered. I could take a computer apart and build it. My dad used to work for Intel. I said, "You've been here a couple of weeks. We've been talking about strengths. How does this came up so late?" But he says, I don't want to work in that field anymore." Okay, that's fair. But at any rate, knowing your strengths is helpful. But we have these classes. We know who hires. But the number one way that people do it is they talk to their friends. Where are you working? In fact,
I got my job through the halfway house when I got out 2 years ago, but I took a job washing dishes at a soup kitchen.
Well, you're a great communicator. I mean, I saw one of your broadcasts, and I wanted to hire you, but I'm not going to do it until I talk to Ann first. So I'm not going to. I started doing so kind to everyone. I'm certain I could start poaching her.
No, I had my own channel, Federal Prison Talk, and I started that to help out guys that went through what I went through. 4 years on pretrial, not knowing if you're going to get probation or 20 years. You're going to prison, but they put off your trial. They put it off, and they put it off 3 more months. Next thing you know, 2-3 years you're walking around, and your friends, your family, nobody thinks you're going to prison. You are. You've been indicted, and you go crazy. And the public defender you have won't answer your questions. They don't know the answers to your questions. They don't want to be bothered. And you want to just all these questions. So that's why I started my channel. And now people call me all the time. Actually, my phone's been a couple guys. Every day I get 3 to 5 people call me. God doesn't give me more than I can handle.
You put your phone on buzzer, put it in your pocket. We call that a cheap thrill.
Yeah. But I wasn't ashamed to wash dishes. I got out before the pandemic hit, and but I was willing. You got to be willing to do anything. But I wasn't going to stay washing dishes. I knew that.
Well, one of our core curriculum modules is lifelong learning and goals. So it's like, yes, you've started with an entry-level job. Now, what are you going to do? What do you really want to do? We don't want to overwhelm someone right away. In fact, I learned from the people who were down and incarcerated for a long time. Someone came, and I had this presentation I had made with a friend all about lifelong learning, but it was more about how to reach fulfillment 5. But I had a 20-page questionnaire to help someone figure out what they're short and want to. And everyone said, "Are you out of your mind?" The people leaving prison are overwhelmed. That's why I learned from the peer support workers. They're overwhelmed. It's a lot of small steps lead to big results. And you're just going to make things worse and create more stress. So our concentration is when you're first released, when you're first out, get the housing, get the job, learn emotional regulation so that when you get that job and you haven't had the supervisor just say, the floor's wet.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily saying, I think you're stupid because the floor's wet and you're being sloppy. It could be, I'm afraid you're going to slip. Don't take things personally. But we talk a lot about emotion regulation so you don't quit your first job the first time someone makes a criticism or a suggestion. But beyond that, then when someone's beyond the survival mode, and ready to think about it, then now's the time. What do you really want to do? What are your core values? What'll make stability in your family? How can you reunite with your children? What's your long-term strategy for that? But I remember one conversation in prison once. There were 30 people in the room, and the staff told me that all week afterwards, everyone was talking about. I just asked the question one week. It was during an RDAP meeting, but I just said, what activity did you ever do in your life where you just forgot about time and everything? You just lost yourself in doing it. I don't know, it was ceramics or the art for some people. Some people talked about they did archery, but they thought about it. Or were you with your niece or your nephew and just playing with a kid? But it's those activities where you can lose yourself that you find what's the most life can be. And eventually then you can make a career path and take classes or do whatever you can to have more of that in your life than the entry level job or whatever. Right. Or you could stay at a job that's not too stressful and find meaning in some other activities. There's no one answer,
It's true. It's true. But I don't think you ought to keep a job that you hate going to.
No.
But
on the other,
sometimes there's a job you might have temporarily, but you don't have to keep it permanently.
Right. Well, it's funny because my peer support workers rewrote some things, but I wrote in one of the manuals for the core curriculum, only a fool would leave a job before he gets another job.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't. Yeah.
It's generally good advice, but I took it out at their advice because if you're at a workplace and everyone's using and you can't take it and it's dangerous to stay there.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not being a fool to leave that one before that there's a damn good reason to. So there's no one rule that's going to apply to.
That's a good point because I worked in restaurants for like 25 years and sometimes after work it's party. Everybody's drinking, doing drugs. And, that's not the way I want to live my life anymore. So, I couldn't keep a job like that. It wouldn't be as safe because one of those nights you hang out at the barbershop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut.
You remind me of something else that we do in our core curriculum. We do a lot of role playing. And, we think everyone ought to practice saying, oh, I don't do that anymore. Or I'm still on paper or I'm still on probation and I have to do UA's urine analysis. So if I went with you and, so get used to saying, you used to be fun, oh, come on, mi primo, what happened to you, all that stuff. In fact, one of the classes we did, we had a compulsive gambler and we had one of our peer support workers. That was his big issue. That was his addiction. And we're doing this role-playing thing. He said, on this shoulder, you have the little devil telling you what to do. And this one, you're trying to stay clean and sober. I said, you try to listen to the good devil. And one of our peer support workers will play the part of the devil. And we had this compulsive gambler, and we're in a class, and we went through.
I've been in programs, and we've done that one. We did the little voice. Come on, you want to. It's good. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody's going to know they're not looking.
Yeah. So the compulsive gambler on our peer support worker who has a great recovery knew all the things. He said, "Oh, I have a conversation. Oh, you such sounds like you're having a lucky day. We should go to the casino." He said, "Oh, no, I can't." At any rate, this went on a while, and it was one of those used to be fun. Look, I'll get you started. I'll just look. Just have fun.
Look,
I'll give you. You don't have to spend any more than $25. I'll give it to you. At any rate, this guy in our class, you could see him begin to perspire in the class, in the role playing.
Yeah.
And before long, within 5 minutes, he said, "Okay, let's go." He stood up and took 2 steps to the door. I said, "Oh my God, this guy's
triggers.
He's just beginning his recovery, and we need more role playing until he could do it." Yeah. But if there's not role playing, if people haven't said, "No, I don't want to," or "No, I can't," or "I understand," or "I hope we can still be friends, but I really, it's not what I want to do." You get it. Yeah. Physically say it. Not this is what I think I'll say. Or
you get into practice of saying no. I mean, it's good to do that because when the time is going to come when all the recovery in the world is not going to save you. You know what I mean? There's going to be a time, and if you're spiritually fit inside, you can get through. But if you haven't worked,
you got to work it, and then.
Let me get a couple of comments here.
Oh, go for it, please.
Katrina says, "I have senior moments too, Stan. Don't feel bad. I am only 64. LOL." Ambrosia, she says the Community Peer Education Project receives referrals directly from New Mexico Probation and Parole Department to help all returning citizens on supervision that are in need of resources.
That's
Okay.
You know, if someone said Echo CPE, I would have recognized that faster than the actual word.
Instead of the acronym, she said the whole thing.
She said, "Yeah, no, because we've written grants and worked with them, and so it would be Project Echo CPE."
She also says Best Chance has helped us all with so many returning citizens in the Albuquerque area. Shout out to Gary from Best Chance.
Right,
Gary
Mares. I would say he's a subject matter expert on resources. Actually, all three of my people are that do most of the work. And Benjamin Raymond, who worked with Joe here, went further with some. He would find people who weren't making referrals to, and he would go visit them and tell them. But the important thing about referrals, and anybody in the nonprofit world have referrals as part of your program, just take seriously the term warm handoff. You've heard that. If you
I haven't heard that. What is that?
Oh,
warm handoff.
Some agencies, you'll go and say who's hiring, and they'll give you a list, or they'll say who might be have housing, and they give you a list.
Oh, here's a list.
Or here's a list.
Yeah, here's Salvation Army, Goodwill.
Or here's a phone
that,
number for this one or that. And you need clothing to do this. That's what, we'll go with you to MVD. We're not going to do more than you need, because anyone knows about risk, needs, and responsivity knows that if you try to do too much for someone, you create and it's inappropriate.
A man comes in as he's hungry, and you could buy him a fish dinner, or you could teach him how to fish and catch his own fish dinner. But how's that? How's that go?
Fish out of the oil a little bit sooner, maybe. So,
but you're not. Yeah, you're not going to catch the fish, cook it, wash his dishes for him, and wipe his mouth.
In some ways, I think we fit that model. There's a lot of research about the validity of reducing recidivism and helping people by paying most attention to things like what are the leisure activities, who are people hanging out with, how many pro-social things they're doing. If you get too much on the research side of it, you might lose the human part of it. But everyone in this field ought to be aware of what really works and what we know works. But a warm handoff, back to your original question, is someone at the agency, and you take them there, or you call on the phone and say, Mabel, I'm with a guy named George here. He's going to be coming over in a half hour. He'll need X, Y, and Z. Do you have a bed? Do you have this? So you're not giving here are 3 names or 3 places that can help you with this problem. Call them and see how it works out for you. That's called a referral, like old school or something. Okay. A warm handoff is I drive you over, or you're in the room. I hand you the phone and say, why don't you talk to so-and-so? But there's some human connection between the peer support worker and either a professional or another peer at the agency.
So you guys actually do hands-on. I mean, it's not like
yes.
The opposite would be a cold handoff, right? I go in the office and you give me a piece of paper with all the resources on it and say, close the door on your way out.
If you have, I got to go now, but there's a book over there that lists every place that does housing.
Okay.
And God forbid,
So I understand when a guy walks in your build your office is that you make them feel comfortable. That's what I've been hearing because everybody in there knows where you've been. They understand where you're coming from.
I wouldn't hire somebody. We do role playing in the training of people.
Good.
They're all trained by Opry, also the office.
Okay.
But I remember someone came in and I said, someone's just coming in, greet them.
Yeah.
And one person who worked, I don't know what industry he worked, but someone come in, he said, well, what can I do to help you? And I said, what business? No, just greet them, and it's sort of like, how long you been down? Where'd you find? Where were you? Did you know Tony? Did you or whatever?
Yeah, I know.
Did you know Wolf Boy? You know. Oh, you from Grandson? Yeah, you know.
Oh yeah, I was in Teller Building up on the second floor. You did
Oh,
too,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
you know.
Well, those conversations.
Yeah.
is-
Not always, you know, it's
the first time we were doing role playing, trying to explain to a new board of directors what we'd be doing, and we had somebody, and I was sort of like writing welcoming scripts. Forgive me.
I know. When I got to the halfway house,
come on, we're talking. Tell
Yeah,
him,
come on,
tell
Joe.
him, tell him.
Forgive me for giggling, but
We got 16 people in the room. Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say when I got to the halfway house, you know, they got their little bulletin board and stuff, and there's a list of resources and
Yeah.
and whatever. But the main thing is that people right away were like, "Man, you got to call Best Chance. Best Chance is, you know." So you know, hearing that from other returning citizens
Right.
saying this is the place to go, you know, really gave me some or gave them some credibility with me.
Okay.
And so I called them, and man, it was they made me feel comfortable. They made me feel good. Like I said, they gave me some material support, backpack, socks, shirts, toothpaste, toothbrush. And that was cool because, you know, I didn't have a toothbrush or toothpaste,
Right.
you know, coming out.
Because when you're in prison, you don't think to bring that stuff with you. You figure, I'm leaving all this behind.
Yeah.
You know.
And so, you know, when you get to the halfway house, they give you a little hygiene pack, but it's a little, you know, toothbrush like that. And,
Yeah, the little
you know,
half thing.
yeah. And so it was a real toothbrush. And so it was cool. You know,
did we
I
say
really
welcome
appreciate it.
home? I hope we did.
you know, I can't remember. I remember when I first got there and I talked to Rory and I was like, all right, yeah, this is cool. I like this guy.
Rory laughs at everything he says, and all that. It's kind of fun. Rory,
I try to greet everybody that comes in here. The other guy, what was his name? He was on the computer over here. He just did
Yeah.
20 years, man. I went, shook his hand and said, "Hey, welcome to the world." And I always do that when people come to here because because they're in shock there, and he was too. He was kind of like, these guys are too nice. Something's going on here. I know that you're not trusting, you know.
Yeah, well, a lot of
when you tell somebody else, "Hey, I did time too," and like so.
Oh yeah. But today there were two women in, and they were working with Rory for a while, and I turned to them. I said, "By the way, how's it feel to be helped by Willie Nelson?" Because Rory looks just like I said, he just so he won't blow his cover. He goes by Rory Wolf around here. It's really Willie Nelson, you know. But we're laid back. We try to be laid back and make it feel like something. But to me, happiness is when I see come in and I don't know if Joe could manage this, but remember how uptight you are, and the whole body almost looks like a square box or something. Every muscle is tight.
Yeah.
And they'll come in and you see this muscle bound or uptight feel.
Yeah.
And by the end of the first 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, you just say, oh, this is okay. The place is not fancy, but it's neat enough. You can tell business is happening and there's paperwork. But the paperwork is so we could actually report actual results. So we count anybody who comes in. We don't only report recidivism rates for people who, quote, completed a program. Our idea is if you came in the door, were we engaging and kind enough that you got what you needed and that you stayed out? And over time, we hope to see our numbers become lower and lower.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I basically called him. I talked to Rory. He gave me Benjamin's number. I called Benjamin. We set up an appointment for me right away. Then the first thing I walked in, like I said, he gave me material support. And then, man, he got me on Medicaid that same day. Set up my driver's license appointment that same day.
You got on Medicaid?
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get on it.
Yeah, he got me on that
Come
same
on,
day.
Best Chance, yeah. We'll help you, Sean.
But like you
We're
said,
good.
you know, it was
We have a portal.
I guess
they made me feel real comfortable. It was
wow.
No, that's part of it. And dignity, you know, certainly when you're incarcerated, everyone's in a tight space or whatever. So the whole issue of respect is different. God forbid you would walk in front of someone in a line. There's all sorts of behaviors that are just not tolerated. On the other hand, then you're back in the community. You can go to a Walmart and everyone's wearing different colors. God, you know, it's like, they're not all wearing orange or red or black or whatever, and they're walking in front and they cut in front of you. But
yeah, I've seen that at Walmart. I've seen people cut in front of somebody who you could tell they weren't going to let that happen, and you get out of. Yeah, it's a whole new world out there. A whole new rules. The rules don't.
It's a different culture. It's a different rules. We have those discussions, and if I'm talking to families, I say, God forbid that your husband or boyfriend or whatever is going to get out, or whoever, and you jokingly call him a bitch. I say, you don't. That's like permission to kill. I mean, and sometimes the reaction is so fast. It's like it's just dangerous. You just be careful of what you say kidding around too. It just takes some knowledge of everybody. At the same time, the returning citizen has to understand, oh, those were those rules for there. Now I'm in a different country, a different world, a different life. And then there are different skills you need and different ways of coping. And it's cool. Once you get past that, it's sort of like, oh, did you have this one? May I ask Joe a question?
No, yeah.
It's your show.
It's not my show. It's Wing's show.
It's Wing's show. It's
their show.
It's your show out there. But I remember the first couple of weeks, you still don't quite believe it, but I remember I've heard this a couple of times, more than a couple. But someone said, one night I got up at 10:30 and I walked to the refrigerator. Or I went outside at 11, and it was like the first 2 weeks I kept thinking someone messed up. They're going to straighten out the paperwork, and I'm still have to go back or something. Something's going to happen. But at some point you realize, or did you?
No, I actually,
what was it like for you? But
I actually had that moment, and it was coming back from Best Chance. I went to. It was about 2 weeks after I'd been out, and I went to one of the Saturday morning workshops.
Right.
And we had they made us breakfast, and we had our little curriculum, and got paid $15, which is nice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about. I was reading about that.
And but anyways, I was taking the bus home, and so I had to transfer buses, and I was at the bus stop, and I had to wait about 20 minutes, and that's when it hit me, man. I was on the corner right there on San Mateo and Montgomery, and it was a beautiful day, and I looked up and I saw the mountains and cars driving by, and I smelled the exhaust, and somebody drove by with their window down, and they're blasting their music and stuff, and that's when it hit me. I was like, oh man, this is what I've been waiting for.
I
like,
really
I'm
am
here.
outside.
Yeah,
yeah. It's sort of interesting, and I'm so pleased to hear you say it was after one.
That's those reality check moments.
We did get I should say thank you to the Oil and Gas Industry Association of New Mexico. Gave us $5,000, so we're able to pay $15 for every one of the classes people attends.
So you do this twice a week, I think, right?
We do it twice a week, so every Wednesday, and every Saturday we have a breakfast or a lunch.
Breakfast or lunch,
and they get there's 6 classes of an hour and a half. We used to start promptly at 11:30 for the lunches. We start a little bit before that now, so people are pretty much through eating by the time we start, so that when we're talking about the
and they get $15 cash or debit card. Cash.
Wow. In fact,
that's when you're out of prison, $15 cash and a meal.
There are a lot of people listening. I can tell you the cash for tomorrow morning is, I won't say where it is, but you wouldn't want to mess with me anyway.
No. That's a big deal. When you're broken out of prison, I mean, that's a big deal.
Well, I thought, think about this. You could have served 27 years, 30 years, 16 years, 2 years, whatever. You haven't made an appointment, whatever. You're worried about getting a job, whatever. You're overwhelmed. And now we're saying, show up for class. And it's like people never like school anyway, necessarily. By the way, would you say it was fair enough that was more participatory and more fun than you?
Oh, yeah.
That's a leading question. That's unfair.
So it's not just a lecture.
I would say,
God forbid it would be a lecture.
Yeah, I would say that it's fun. It pushes you maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone when you're first getting out, but that's good because you're it's a positive environment, so you feel comfortable doing it.
Good,
So yeah, it was cool.
And there's food.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's tamales y frijoles negros.
All right.
Yeah, we'll have refried.
Can't beat that.
No, we do.
All right.
I enjoy cooking, but it's cool. the camaraderie is quite extraordinary. The team, we have a team approach. Our board members. This is an interesting thing that probably blow people's minds. But I think the first person I called was someone who was very reasonably affluent, worked for Intel Corporation early, but he managed all of Intel Corporation's external research. And in the back of my mind, I'm still nerdy enough that I like the human part of it. But if I don't know for a fact that we're making a difference and doing things that could be scalable, replicable, and based on what the people like Morgan Jaco and the others know to be, evidence-based. So I wanted to recruit him, and he's been giving $25,000 a year, which is, a blessing. But I found out that, there was someone in his family very close within the criminal justice system. I hadn't even thought of that. Then I recruited someone who was a chaplain at Presbyterian Hospital that I knew, who was also a CPA with government nonprofit experience. But I recruited all these people, and the number of people who had relatives, children, adopted children, a brother who passed away from an overdose, all this, but I recruited them for their skills of serving on boards. But the opioid pandemic is indeed a pandemic. It's universal. Yeah. It would be hard to recruit a board of directors or volunteers who have not been affected by the problems. And so we end up with a highly skilled board, but really dedicated to our mission. It's quite satisfying, and a great group of people to work with, also make the whole thing work.
Got a question for you from Ambrosia. What is the current status on helping female returning citizens through Best Chance?
We help them. We had 2 women today, but we also give them referrals to Natasha Garcia's organization. Forgive me again that I forget it. It's new organization. Our peer support workers, at least Gary Morris, someone mentioned, went to their open house, saw that they have a lovely facility and that they have support groups. So a lot of the people we're serving are at Dearson, and Dearson's a federal pre-release place, and they won't let the men and women come to the same event. Right. I said, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong? You have to ask yourself. So we do direct services, and people come to us. We had 2 women today, and it's working out well. But we also make them referrals.
So these 2 meals, can men and women can go to those? Is that just for men? That's just for men.
If women want to come and they're not at Dearson won't allow it to happen. We would make accommodations or have a separate group too. But and the executive director here at Wings is a believer that you can get a lot done if you don't care who gets the credit for it. But there are agencies, Crossroads for Women, really strong agency. They have a program. The new agency, for some reason, I remember the name of the executive director, but not the direct name of the program. And someone listening to us might remember before I do.
She says, awesome, thank you. Okay. Yeah. So our hour's almost up, but I want to ask you, people out there in the audience, people watch from all over the country, is there anything people can do to help Best Chance? I've got the website on there, scrolling across, the phone number and all that. I'm sure you take donations, or do you have volunteers?
We have volunteers.
If somebody wants to volunteer with you, they can do that.
Indeed, they can. We do. And some of the people do community service for us also. Okay. But the biggest help, of course, is if someone's able, make us one of your favorite nonprofits to support Wings, support us, and but more than anything, if there anybody that, if you know a researcher, an academic, we have someone here in our own University of New Mexico. There's a James Fairfax Colombo, who's a forensic psychologist. Okay. He's got law degrees and psychology degrees and 10 grad students working on doctorates. But we're interested in researchers, and more than anything in the world, I would love to have a research assistant who could review the literature and help us stay on track, so we could work closer with the Department of Corrections and do some of that stuff without losing our human touch and, person-oriented approach.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Stanley, do you have any final words for, I know people on my channel, a lot of them are getting ready to go to prison, but when they come out, no matter, they may not be in Albuquerque, but you got some words of wisdom to help my viewers
I'll look directly
get through their prison sentence and come out on the other end. Like
the prison time.
You still have a life, like life is still worth living. You're going to get through this, that kind of thing. That's what I tell them. And I mean that, guys. I mean that.
But many of you probably saw the book by Bo Lazoff called We're All Doing Time. No, you're not alone, because there are a lot of people, they may not be incarcerated, but they're torturing themselves anyway. And you're not alone. The number of people suffering from trauma, a lot of things. Don't hold resentment and anger. I would say that if you can let go, that's one type of thing. Don't worry so much about whether God will forgive you, whatever. There's one person that you have to get the forgiveness from to start. You know who? I don't. No one has to answer that one. Everyone knows that. That's the other. But the other is use your prison time to learn to experience inner peace. Enjoy the camaraderie. A lot of people, I know this, form brotherhoods in there that people will help you more than your family ever did often. There's all sorts of neat things that happen. But more than anything, enjoy life. Look forward to being out. This too shall pass, But I guess the biggest thing, don't torture yourself with anger and resentment. That doesn't get you anywhere. And it's what I said earlier. I guess it's my theme for the week is that we're on the frustration business, frustration reducing business. When you get out or even in prison, expect things to go wrong sometimes. And then when they go right, you could feel relieved, but things will always be unsettled. Learn to cope with them and accept them.
It's good advice.
I would say when you get to that point, some people call it radical acceptance. Life becomes a lot easier.
JD, any words for these feds on pretrial?
Oh, man.
Getting ready to get sentenced?
Yeah, I know what it's like, and I know that the not knowing, just being in limbo is that was probably harder than doing the actual time for me personally. But
now with the no cash bail, people are getting, cited and released and just in state, and they're going to state prison, and they're out on pretrial. Got a lot of that going on.
I'll just say one thing about that. I knew somebody had charges and a long time passed before he actually served his time.
Yeah.
And he thought, originally he thought this is unfair because I got my life together. He straightened things out. And then he started serving time.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a blessing. A woman knew him during that time that he got his life straightened out. When he was released, he still had all his possessions, a woman in his life or whatever. So you never really know what's good and what's bad.
If you can,
he said at first he was angry that he got his life together. Then he served. He wished it all to happen at once.
Right.
Had it happened all at once, he knows for a fact she would have left him at that point, and life would have been harder.
If you can do that before you go to prison, imagine what's going to happen when you get out.
And it made
with all that facing you.
Yeah,
you think your world's ending, when you change everything before you get through that, you get out. I mean, you're just
like that. I don't know. This came up today, but I was once in a group of 20, 30 people. No, 30 people. But I heard this phrase, "My life is over." I said, "Oh, my life is over. I ruined everything." And I said, with a big group, said, "Anyone in this room have the sense my life is over?" The irony was the 22-year-old was the one person, the 50-year-old, it would be so easy for him to have a really long, marvelous life, but he was convinced his life was over. It was sad.
Yeah, I'll also just say,
talking.
Also to say, keep your head up, and when you get out, I know you're gonna have anxiety and stuff, but there's awesome people like Stanley, like Sean, and like Ann that are gonna help you. So definitely look into your resources when you get out and explore that option, because it's helped me a lot. So
ask yourself, is it true? As someone says, The system's designed to make you fail. Is it really? And no one will help you. Don't. Can you look around? There are a lot of people.
I don't believe that anymore. There was a time I would agree with that, but not today.
You used to tell yourself that.
I used to.
Did you?
Yeah.
At some point, just realize how many people donate to Wings for Life. How many people donate to us? It's people you don't even see.
Right.
That they care.
They care. People out there
A lot
that
of
care.
people care.
Yeah. Next week, guys, I got Darsha Shanti. He was on our Monday night Zoom. So he's going to talk about believing in yourself, loving yourself. Great motivational speaker. In 2 weeks, I got Adam Oki. He's the Better Call Saul lawyer guy from Albuquerque. If you see his commercials, he's been in the system, and now he fights against the system, and he's a lawyer, and he says, and I'll fight for you. Watch his commercials. He's going to be on here answering your questions. So you get a chance to ask a lawyer, a criminal law lawyer guys. So how often do you get that chance? That's in 2 weeks. All right. So we'll see you here next Friday at 3:00. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share the channel, tell your friends, and God bless you all.